Hi everyone, welcome back to MCM Outdoors and welcome to this video, which is a review of the Telemark 2.2 lightweight variant tent by Nordisk. Nordisk are a great manufacturer of quality Scandinavian outdoor equipment. They make many different types of gear, including tents, which is obviously what we're going to be reviewing today. Just to give you a bit of context of this review, this tent was sent to me by Nordisk to test out, and I've owned it now for nearly a year, and I've used it in a variety of weather conditions, heavy rain, very strong winds, good weather, and I've tested it to its extreme limit during Storm Arwen a couple of months ago in the Lake District National Park. I think it's really important before you make a product review to have used the product thoroughly in different weather conditions so that you're given a true, unbiased and honest account. Just to let you know, there's been no input from Nordisk. I'm free to give my unbiased opinion of this tent. So I'm going to talk you through the positives and through some of the weak points, and hopefully you're going to find this useful. If you've got any questions throughout, just let me know in the comments below. So first things first, we're going to talk about it's extremely lightweight. Comes in different variants. This one is the lightweight variant, which is made of SilNylon, which is of course siliconized nylon for the fly sheet. It's incredible in terms of the weight at 1,010 grams, so it's ultra light. There it is in terms of the pack size, really small. I've got a 32 litre rucksack with me today, so if you're in the market for a really compact lightweight tent, this is something you should be given some serious consideration to. Really small pack size, just over a kilo. You can get that down a little bit by using the tent in its standalone stuff sack. It stuffs into itself, so you don't actually have to use this. I do have the footprint for it as well, which is obviously an optional extra. I do like to use footprints with my tents. It just sort of gives you a bit more longevity. You're looking after your investment. If you're spending money on a tent, you want to look after it, make sure it's in good order, get the most use out of the products that you're buying. This obviously protects the ground sheet of the inner tent, and it doesn't add too much weight, but of course you don't have to use it. It's solid as it is, but I just like to do that. It's time to get the tent pitched. You can't get this wrong. It's just a single pole tunnel design, and it's really simple, which is exactly what you need after a long day on the fells, or if you're using this for the likes of mountain marathons. You don't want a big faff at the end of the day. You just want to get in, get set up and get some sleep and comfort at the end of a long day. So you're going to see how easy this is to pitch now. So the first thing to do if you're using the footprint is to get that pegged out. You can see the shape. It's a little bit of a sort of diamond shape, but it gives you an idea of how much space there is in this tent. It's a 2.2, this variant, which means it's got 2 doors, 2 vestibules, and you can easily fit 2 people in. Just for the purpose of this video, I'll let you know I'm exactly 6 foot tall. So if I lie down on the footprint, and you're going to see when I actually get inside the tent itself, you can see just how much room you've got. It's absolutely cavernous for one person, which is what I'm using it for the majority of the time. You can get all your gear in, but next thing to do is actually lay the tent over this, get it pegged out, and then we're going to just look at the features of the tent. So it's quite a breezy day today. What I'd normally recommend if the winds were a little bit stronger than this would be just clipping one of the guylines of the tent just to a carabiner on your rucksack, just to make sure it's anchored down and it doesn't blow away. It's not too bad today, but it's not the best conditions for reviewing a tent, so we'll see how we get on. So what I like to do is to get the first 2 pegs in at one end of the tent, usually the head end of the tent, and then come and feed your pole through this pole sleeve, which is a flat pole sleeve. We're going to look at this and a little bit more detail on every single feature of the tent. There's a bit of mist coming in, but hopefully you can still see everything okay. We're at the mercy of the elements today, so you're going to just have to bear with. So here's the tent, fully pitched. Took no time at all, and obviously the more familiar you get with your tent, the quicker you're going to be able to pitch it. It's always worth practicing with it in your back garden, so you can basically do it with your eyes shut. But as you can see, it's got this single pole towards the head end, gives you lots of nice usable height. You can just about sit up in it, and I'm 6 foot tall, like I say. So we've got a guy line on this side, guy line on the other side. Each corner of the tent has got Cordura pockets, and in each pocket there's a small section of aluminium pole. There's a small adjuster on the end of each corner which you can easily pull just to add some tension to the fly sheet. It's really important that you do that, especially with SilNylon tents, because this fabric can absorb a bit of water. So once you've pitched, especially in conditions like this, as time goes on, the fabric will absorb that water and become heavier and start to sag a little bit. So it's important that you correctly pitch your tent throughout your camping time. Really important that you do that, because you want some good separation from the outer and the inner, just to ensure that the tent is working as it's designed to. What we're going to do now is look around the exterior, look at all the features in a bit of detail, and we're going to go inside, see how much room there is, and I'll show you the features of the inside. So at each corner of the tent there's these really robust Cordura pockets. Within those is a section of aluminium pole, which obviously increases the rigidity of the tent at each corner, and by virtue of that fact increases the usable space within the tent itself. You'll see that when we get in. We've got these Dyneema pieces of guy line at each corner and a plastic line lock adjuster just to add a bit of tension. It's really simple, just pull on the free end, and conversely, just to loosen it, just lift it up slightly. So it's really easy to adjust, even with gloved hands, and it's a nice way to go around and adjust your tent easily. Like I say, SilNylon can absorb water. We've got mist and fog rolling in off the hill, and that is just a property of this fabric. It's lightweight, but it can absorb water as well. So there you go, that's the corners of the tent. In terms of pegging the tent out, just take some of the tension off here. Where the guy lines attach, there's a small loop. The peg goes through that loop, and it's just a really sturdy system in terms of guying out your tent. I like it, it's quick, it's simple, and it just works. So in terms of venting, we've got a vent above each door, and there's some mesh which we'll see from the inside. That is held out with a stiff strip of material which runs along the base of that vent. It's exactly the same on the other side, and we've got our entrance on this side and an entrance on the other side. So that's great if there's two of you, you know, you're not climbing over each other in all your gear. You can use both entrances and exits of the tent, and that really increases the versatility and usability of the kit. In terms of the door closure, there's a magnetic fastener sewn into the fabric. It's a really nice touch. It just keeps the door flap secure over the zip, strong winds, and again it's just a nice quality touch added to the tent. Let's get this open and have a little look inside. So if you look at the vestibule on this side of the tent, you can see it's really quite generous. Really good for cooking in there, for storing your gear. And a nice feature of this tent is the ability to make the vestibule bigger or smaller depending on whether, for example, there might be two of you inside the tent. If you want a bit more room inside your inner, you simply stretch this out. For example, if there were two of you, obviously at the expense of the space in your vestibule. If there's just me in it, for example, what I like to do is make the vestibule larger, and that's great for bad weather such as this. If you were, for example, cooking in here, you can be over to one side. You can really increase the usable space, and when you've got the ground sheet on like I have today, it's great for keeping your gear dry and off the wet and damp ground. Nice feature, really easy to do, no messing around. There's just a slide-in toggle, and that's a cracking feature. Have a little look inside the inner now. You're going to see how much room is in here. I'm going to open up the other door and we'll see just how versatile this little tent really is. I just want to draw your attention to the weight. When you're thinking about a tent that's designed with 2 doors, 2 vestibules, and it's 1,010 grams, that really is quite remarkable considering the features of this tent. So if I just walk you around, I've put a peg on that door. I'll speak about that shortly. I'll walk you around. You can see that the vent is exactly the same on this side. Just place the camera down. I'm going to open this door just so you get a true idea of the room and all the features. We've got to be as thorough as we can, because when you're making decisions on kit, you've got to get them right, and you want to know everything about the piece of gear that you're considering buying. Try and get this as tight as you can when you're rolling it up. It's a fine art to it really. Practice makes perfect. You've got these little hooks and a fabric loop, and there you go. Another door, bit of a U-shaped zipper, and again same sketch, roll it up. You've got a small loop of Dyneema and a bit of elastic with a plastic hook, and that just secures your door in place. There you go. I keep banging on about the fact that there's 2 doors, but it really does improve the practicality if there's 2 people using this tent. Obviously bear in mind that you only get this feature with the 2.2 variants of the Telemark. The standard Telemark 2 or the standard Telemark, you only get 1 door. It's got to be the 2.2 variant to get this feature, but it is worth it. And like I say, when you consider the weight of this tent, it really is quite outstanding. I'm going to get this zipped up now, and we're going to have a look inside the tent and how much space there is and some of the features on the inside. That's the system for the doors. There's a fabric loop of the same material as the fly, and then on the other side there's a plastic hook with this elasticated band. And like I mentioned at the start of the review, the base of the doors has a magnetic tab sewn in, which just ensures in strong winds you can just hear it clicking into place there. It just keeps this flapper material over the zipper. And a note on the zippers of the tent, they are all YKK quality zippers and hardware used throughout. The Guylines, I've got this reflective thread sewn throughout, so in the dark your head torch will light that up. If you're trying to locate your tent, you've been for a bit of a walk or a wander, you can easily find it in poor visibility. In terms of the adjusters on the Guylines, these small Nordisk line lock tensioners, really easy to do, and you can achieve really quick tension, and you can do that with gloved hands easily. These Guylines are easily removable. You've got these spring toggles here. You can just take that off. I've secured it with a bit of a loop just to stop that coming out, but they're really easy to remove if you want to shave off some weight in better conditions. You can see the pole sleeves are completely flat, so there's nothing for the wind to catch on. And talking of wind, it's pretty constant and fairly strong in that direction. You can see the tent is holding up well, considering it's a single pole tunnel design with minimal Guylines. It's a 2 to 3 season tent, but it does hold its own in some reasonable wind. Well, it's time to come in out of these bitingly cold conditions and show you some of the internal features of the Telemark 2.2. So I've shown you the Cordura pockets in each corner of the tent on the fly. Now what that means, the height that achieves allows the inner just to be raised at each corner, and that increases the amount of usable space within the inner of this tent. It really is nice and roomy, and it's palatial for one person, which is predominantly when I'm using this tent. So the length of this inner tent is 220 centimetres, and the height just at the apex is 106 centimetres high. I'm just going to lie down now. Like I say, I am 6 foot or around 182, 183 centimetres tall, and you're going to see that you can completely lie down outstretched with no issues at all. So there you go. I'm just rolling my jacket up behind me as a bit of a pillow, but I'm completely stretched out. I've got a good bit of clearance with this fabric here. You know, it's not draped all over my face. Some people absolutely hate things like that, and it's obviously not an issue on this particular tent. But yeah, there's absolutely loads of space. Just turn you around so you can see my feet again. All the way down. Loads of room. Like I've already mentioned, really useful feature is the ability to make the inner tent bigger or smaller depending on your requirements. So if it was just me, I would probably opt for a bit more room in the vestibule. Do that just by pulling it like so. You've still got ample room in the tent, ample room for all your stuff, but you then get a massive vestibule. There's my 32 litre rucksack, the boots I'm wearing today, and that just shows you how much extra room that you can get in there. Really is great. Go down the other end of the tent. It's a really nice feature, and it's really useful. Can you imagine bad weather, you want to be cooking in here? This is exactly what you'd do if there was one of you using this tent. So in terms of the zippers, they are double zippers, so you can open them from either end. So if we look up here, you can open the door from the top as well. That's really useful if you are, for example, cooking inside your vestibule and you want the steam to be able to escape. Well, it can just by doing that. You've got the door nicely fastened just at the base there as well. You can see you've got this mesh screen which covers the vent, prevents insects from coming in. You've got good airflow into here, and you've got this nice flap material which covers the zip just to protect against any potential water ingress through the zip. Moving across to the other side of the tent, it's exactly the same. Second door, double zippers on this side as well. Like I say, it's a smaller vestibule here, but it's still roomy enough to be able to put your hiking boots or a rucksack down this side of the tent too. Again, the vent here covered with some mesh screen just prevents insects and the dreaded midges getting in, while still allowing good airflow into the tent. Now if we look to the base of the fly sheet and move round to this end, you can see there's a slight catenary cut which just allows some airflow in there just from the base of the fly as well. All adds with airflow, which of course assists in letting condensation escape from the tent. Now on the subject of condensation, I always get asked a lot of questions about condensation in this tent, condensation indeed in my other tents. Condensation is a fact of life when you're camping, especially in cold weather. It's simply caused by a temperature differential from the outside cool air, very cold, especially in winter, and then the relative warmth inside your tent when you're breathing out warm, moist air. When it meets the barrier between those two temperatures, the air will condense and you will get some moisture, and that is just a fact of life when you go camping, especially in cold weather. Now, tents don't have problems, in my view, with condensation. That is alleviated to a greater or lesser degree, depending on the features of the tent, with venting and the cuts of fabric to allow some airflow. So in this tent, as I've just demonstrated, to aid with airflow, you've obviously seen the vents. You can unzip the tops of the doors, obviously still retaining the waterproof ability of the tent, whilst allowing maximum airflow and that warm moist air just to escape and prevent or alleviate some of the condensation, which is inevitable when you're going camping in cold weather. So on the subject of fabric, this tent is silicone coated nylon, or SilNylon, you've probably heard the term. It's 10 denier, it's got a tear strength of 8 kilos and a hydrostatic head of 2000 millimeters. This particular tent is in forest green colour, and they also make a really nice version in red, which looks great, especially when it's lit up from within at night. In terms of the material for the inner tent, it's 100% nylon, it's also ripstop, 15 denier, and this colour is called mustard yellow. In terms of the ground sheet within the inner, it's 100% nylon, it's also ripstop with a PU or polyurethane coating, 20 denier, and it's 8000 millimeter hydrostatic head. There's tape seams within the inner of the tent. On the subject of seams on the fly sheet, this tent does not come with tape seams, and that is absolutely commonplace and normal for SilNylon tents, for the very simple reason that the tape does not adhere to SilNylon and it would just come off. So you have to seam seal it yourself. That's completely commonplace. In my view, it's not a downside of this tent, and it's exactly the same with other SilNylon tents from other manufacturers. Sometimes they charge you a small fee to have the tent seam sealed, but in this case you just do it yourself. There's loads of videos on YouTube. It's a really simple task. Obviously this isn't the time of year to be doing something like that. Just, you know, choose a warm day, but I did it and it's absolutely fine. And Nordisk recommend, just to ensure the tent is 100% waterproof, you've got to seam seal it yourself. But it's quite a nice task to do, and it gives you that added peace of mind, and it's really simple. In terms of loops to hang a lantern or other items, you've got a fabric loop on this side, and that's replicated on the other side of the tent. You can either hook your items directly onto those or run a small bit of line or cord between both, and you can use it as a drying line as well. So bearing in mind that this tent is designed to be ultra lightweight, in terms of storage you've kept it pretty minimal, and all you get is this pocket, although it is pretty generous. And there's these press studs on each side which you can just open up. You can just do it one-handed, and you get a bit more room in there, so you can put mobile phone, bits of items in there, just so you're going to keep them safe and secure. Another important thing to note about this pocket is the entire tent, instead of using the stuff sack which the tent comes with, the entire tent can fold into itself in this, and that is superb. It's obviously got a bit of branding and the name of the tent there, but the entire tent can pack down back into this pocket, so it's completely self-contained, and you're shaving off a few more grams and ditching the stuff sack. You can really see how those vertical corners and the fact that they've got those poles within the pockets adds a lot more space and height to the inside of this tent. So now we're going to recap on some of the positives which I really enjoy about the tent, and I'm also going to touch upon some of the things I'd like to see possibly improved in any future versions. So the positives for me are the weight and the pack size. The weight is absolutely unbelievable for a tent with this many features. 1010 grams, that's using the stuff sack, even lighter if you're using the pocket, which I've just demonstrated. It's absolutely superb for a solid tent like this. That weight is unbelievable. 2 doors, 2 vestibules. That's really great work by Nordisk in that regard. I like the fact that you can just about sit in it, even if you're slightly taller. Just the way the tent's designed, that's a great feature. I like the way that you can make the vestibule smaller or larger depending on your requirements. It's a really handy feature, and if the weather is bad, it makes it much easier to cook inside or store additional wet gear. Again, just improves the comfort, improves the usability and practicality of the tent. I like the way it's easy to pitch with a single pole design. There's no faffing round, no nonsense, really simple. Anyone can pitch this tent well, and the fact that the corners have the aluminium poles within the Cordura pockets, that just adds some rigidity to it, and it's easy to tension it, as I demonstrated at the start of the review. The build quality of the tent is superb. The fabric and the stitching used is top quality. There's no issues with it, there's no loose threads. It's really well put together and it's top quality Scandinavian gear. So I've used this tent in a wide variety of weather conditions, including lovely weather and to the extreme end of my testing during Storm Arwen in the Lake District National Park. On that occasion I suffered a damaged pole. That is not a fault of this tent. It's a 2 to 3 season tent and it's most definitely not designed for 80-90 mile an hour plus wind gusts on the tops of mountain summits. Note to self and lesson learned, you've got to use your equipment in the conditions that it's designed for, and this is a 2 to 3 season tent designed to be ultra light to enable you to cover great distances in 2 to 3 season conditions. So if you're using your equipment in the conditions it's designed for, you're not going to have any problems whatsoever. In the unlikely event that you did have any problems with it, Nordisk are a great company and they've got a great team here in the UK and indeed overseas, and if you've got any problems just get in touch with them. They back it up with a great warranty and they've got a great team behind them as well, so they hook you up with whatever you need to get you back out camping and enjoying your tent. Some of the wild camps which I've used this tent in, I'm going to flash the cards up, no doubt you've seen them throughout this video, so you can actually see it being used itself and see where I'm coming from. So what about negatives? Well, I'll be completely honest, there aren't too many. There's some things I'd like to see. I'd like to see better methods of securing the doors, both on the fly sheet and on the inner. Now you'll see I brought a peg along with me today. It's a top tip. I just use a peg as well just to secure those doors. The hook method and the loop of fabric, it's not the best for making sure the door stays nice and tight and rolled up, so you can just improve that by bringing along a bit of a peg and using that too. I'll show you very quickly what I mean. So just by adding a peg which weighs next to nothing, I've made sure that door is completely out the way and not hanging down at one end. That could possibly be overcome if they added another loop, maybe one here and one towards this side, and like I say, maybe a spring toggle would be a better method of keeping that door rolled up and out the way. Exactly the same applies to the outer door. You've got one plastic hook and a loop on the other side, so you can use the same pegging method just to make sure that stays nice and secure. That's something I'd maybe like to see improved on maybe a future version of the tent. The only other thing I'd like to see maybe improved on future versions of this tent, or as Nordisk move forwards with their designs, is the ability to attach or clip on the ground sheet to the main tent itself. I don't like the fact the way you've got to put the ground sheet down and then put the tent over the top. I've got other tents whereby the ground sheet can be pre-attached or leave it attached to the tent. It's just a little bit easier and quicker when you're pitching, especially in bad weather. I've seen other mods, and in my Facebook group people have suggested either sewing that on or attaching that on with various different modifications themselves. I'm not sure why Nordisk don't do that. Maybe if anyone knows in the comments you can let me know, but it would be nice if we had the ability to attach the ground sheet to the tent. It just makes it a little bit easier when you're pitching. One final feature which I'm now going to demonstrate is the ability to remove the poles from the corners, put them together and use that to prop open the door, so it acts as a kind of an awning for your vestibule. Again, it just gives that extra option and versatility. If it's raining and you actually want the door open, you can use the poles to prop up that, which is a good feature. We'll have a look at that now. If you take the poles out of these corners, and I'm going to tension it back up, you will see that in a minute. You take 3 of the poles out, this one, that one, and round the other side. You can use that to prop up your door. I'll demonstrate that now. So I think that's a nice feature. You give yourself a bit of a cover for the porch area. You would just go and tighten the corners, and you could actually use the 4th pole, I don't think, without too many issues. Of course you could use a trekking pole, but just the fact that you can do it with what materials are contained within the tent itself, I think is another fantastic feature of the Nordisk Telemark 2.2. So what are my final thoughts about the Nordisk Telemark 2.2 lightweight variant tent? Well, like I say, I've used it in various different weather conditions, including to the absolute ridiculous extreme, so I do know about this tent. I've tested it fully so it can be completely honest in my review and let you know exactly what it can do and what it can't do and what you can expect from this tent. The weight is unbelievable, really light, and what that means is you can keep your overall pack weight down and just have a more pleasant trip to the summit and find yourself that perfect pitch and be less tired when you reach the top. If you're in the market for a lightweight 2 to 3 season tent, you're an ultra runner, you do mountain marathons, you want to just have absolutely lightweight as your main factor, this tent is a really superb choice. I'd urge you to check it out. I'm going to put links to the Nordisk website in the description of this video. Check it out in some more detail, and there's some more technical specs as well as those that I've overlaid over the video. But to conclude, it really is superb, great little shelter, easy to pitch, extremely lightweight and really versatile. And you know, the fact that you can get 2 people in a tent with 2 doors that weighs 1,010 grams is simply superb. So it's a great bit of kit which I'm happy to recommend. Use it in the conditions it's designed for, and this will serve you very well indeed. You'll see it on some future videos within the MCM Outdoors YouTube channel, and I look forward to many more adventures in this and indeed all the other tents that I've got as well, because I like using gear, I like testing it, and I like telling you all about it at the end of the day, as well as enjoying it for myself too. If you found this review useful, please let me know in the comments below. Give it a quick thumbs up. If you've got any additional questions or views, or there's something that you think I haven't covered, please let me know, and if needs be, I'll make another video in the future, hopefully in some better weather. But I think I've covered everything, and like I say, it's a cracking tent, and well done Nordisk, you've made a good bit of kit. If you bear in mind those suggestions maybe for any future variants, let me know. And yeah, it's been great to test this out and use it in a variety of weather conditions. Go and enjoy the great outdoors yourself, get out there, check out some fantastic gear by Nordisk, and yeah, let me know about your adventures in the comments below. Thank you for watching and take care.